Hey there team, we're back with another Steam Next Fest demo look. From October 1st through the 7th, Steam is going to have a ton of indie game demos available to try out, and I went through and played around 20 of them, twice as many as the last time I made one of these videos, because I wanted to give them all a try and give you guys a wide palette to look into. Some of these games you might have heard of, most of them you haven't, and honestly, I did play some bangers this time around. So I'm just gonna run through these games in no particular order, real fast and easy. Time codes, Steam page links, and websites are all gonna be down below. I recommend you try out any of these games you see here that you find interesting, and then wishlist them if you enjoyed playing them. We're gonna go through really fast because 20 games is a lot and I don't wanna waste your time. Alrighty, intro over, here we go! Up first is Batboy, and Batboy is pretty heavily inspired by that one famous indie game. Y'all know which one. The graphics look good and the music is solid. The idea with Batboy is that you use a baseball bat instead of a shovel, and the baseball bat allows you to hit enemy projectiles back at them. And you can even aim those projectiles back too. There are some cool little functions in here, mainly that if you hit an enemy, it can go rolling into other enemies. They got some pretty neat mechanics, and the game gets pretty challenging fairly quickly. You only get to play 2 levels in the demo, but I thought they were both pretty fun. Didn't care at all about the story, wasn't really interested, whatever. It's Shovel Knight, but you're a boy with a bat. The differences are noticeable, but it's fun. It's a good time. The music actually is pretty sick. The boss music, anyway. I don't remember the normal music. Whatever, we're moving on. We don't have time. Diplomacy is not an option. This game is like a combination of a tower defense and a strategy game. So the objective here is that you build up a town with food supplies, houses, and technology, and you use the town to fund and create an army which will be used to defend against upcoming enemy waves. It definitely accomplishes what it wants to. It's just not a game for me personally. So really you can see here that you got to build archers and soldiers, and it's got that little RTS aspect in it that I really like, but it also has this big sort of civilization town building aspect, which I don't personally like. I'm a very aggro, war-y, fighty kind of player. But if you like strategy games where you build a big base and you build a big army and then just play defense while waiting for wave after wave of enemies, this is a game worth checking out. I actually know a couple people who I think would really like it. It's a much slower paced sort of strategy game style that focuses more on macro than on micro combat. Yeah, it was it's fine, just not for me. Forgive Me, Father. I'm a big fan of Lovecraftian horror, Cthulhu and whatever, and Forgive Me, Father is an old school FPS inspired by the classics. Really satisfying gunplay. I also like that the zombies carry around extra heads, so if you blow off their first head, they just have a backup one they can put on. The movement's pretty good, you move really fast, and you have pretty solid aiming, and the guns all flow very well, and the enemy designs are pretty creative. The Lovecraft aesthetic also allows for some trippy sequences that can really mess with your mind or whatever. You know how Lovecraft goes. The downside for some players who are familiar with the old school FPSs like Doom might find that the game or what's available in the demo to be a little linear, and that's something to think about while playing it. I personally like linearity in my first person shooters, so I didn't really mind it. I had a really good time with Forgive Me, Father. I thought it was pretty cool, though they do throw a lot of different external mechanics at you that don't really make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. I think the gunplay is good and that's all that matters. Blackwind. So Blackwind takes a lot of influence from the hack and slash games of the PS2 era. I like the mech look, and the actual combat is some mindless fun. It's pretty good. The demo has a lot to offer. I only played around an hour of it, which actually seemed like there was a lot more to go, but it looks like you unlocked more moves as you progress. One of the last moves I unlocked was a jumping aerial attack. The combat's like a good time. It's not super deep, at least not in the demo, but Blackwind has some terrible platforming, not unlike you would find in an older PS2 game. It's got big open spaces of running around, and I found it just really tedious. Another thing is that the weight of the robot mech thingy you play as is just non-existent. When you're dashing, it's just your character is just teleporting. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, but its animations are just kind of missing something. I'll leave this clip here playing so you can understand what I'm talking about. But overall, I think the combat, the beat 'em up God of War style combat, I think that is very fun and pretty mindless, even if it's not like super deep. It's reasonable. It's a good time and the game looks pretty good, aside from these like weird animations. Retro Commander. I was really excited to try Retro Commander since I love real-time strategy games, but this game needs more work. The tutorial just didn't load for me, and the actual gameplay is missing some pretty key RTS features, such as there's no indication when a new unit is created, no sound or anything. Also, you have to mark where you want to build a structure and then pick a builder and then send them over to that structure, and it's a completely separate task. There's no auto attack / move command. It's hard to tell what resources you need or how much of those resources you're generating. I mean, the graphics look pretty nice and it's got some reasonably good sound design. I'm not going to judge this map that you're playing on, but it was just like a lot of information I felt like wasn't really presented, and even if it was there, it didn't seem like there was a lot of engagement of scouting or early pressure because there was this huge sort of waterway in between. It didn't look like you could tech up. It felt like it was missing a lot of things that would be in a normal RTS, including all these extra little doodads like auto attacking and sound notifications and stuff. So, you know, if it cleans itself up, it could be fun, but as it is now, I really didn't like it, though I am holding it to a pretty high standard. Tunic. Oh, we all have seen Tunic, right? Tunic is reminiscent of Zelda, mainly the Link's Awakening remake that came out recently. The gameplay, though, is a combination of top-down Zelda and Dark Souls. I mean, you got a shield that uses stamina, a roll, a health potion that refills when you rest at a bonfire, and blah, blah, blah. It's got all the usual Dark Souls crap. But it is a combination of Zelda and Dark Souls, which I think is pretty neat. The graphics, I think, look really cute, and I do enjoy the gameplay a lot. I think it's a very fun combination. I did think that the stick was terrible. You start off with a stick and you have to find a sword, and gameplay with the stick was so unfun, I really didn't want to play the rest of it, but the game really, gets into its groove once you get a sword and can actually damage enemies. That aside, wow, graphics are really good. They have some really fun dungeon layouts and designs. I'm really excited to check out Tunic when it officially comes out. Overall, I think it's a really well put together game, and I'm looking forward to it. I was excited for Terror of Hemasaurus, and I have really fond memories of renting Rampage from Hollywood Video, so I was excited for a Rampage-like game. I don't think Hemasaurus really captures what I personally would want from a game where you play as a big monster destroying towns. The kaiju you play as feels sluggish, the controls and even the moves in general aren't super fun, they're really slow and bland. And the game feels too barren, too empty. Like, all there is to do is just jump on a building and kick cars. And I would want more meat from a game's mechanics than just that. The demo also opens with an extremely long tutorial that I was not in the mood for, but whatever. I mean, it's harmless to give it a try. I did blaze through 20 games in a day, so it's entirely possible I was just too tired and grumpy to give it any attention that it might deserve. I don't know, check it out if it was interesting to you. It just wasn't for me. Ex-Zodiac? Yo? Ex-Zodiac is awesome. This game is indie Star Fox or Lylat Wars if you're from Europe, and it is so much fun. I'm having a blast playing and replaying the 2 levels offered in the demo. Solid flying controls, fun boss fights. I love this style of gameplay. You rarely get to see it. I haven't played a game like this since maybe Star Fox 64, right? And I would recommend trying this demo out. It's an on-rail shooter. You don't have a barrel roll, or at least I haven't figured out how to do it yet, but there are still so many other features carried over from the Star Fox series. I don't think there's an all-ranged mode in this game, which I'm pretty happy about because I prefer on-rail shooting, but it's just Star Fox 64. If you haven't tried it or you haven't played one of these types of games in a long time, I would recommend looking into Ex-Zodiac. It's fun. It's like a 15-minute demo. You can replay as many times as you want, and I think it's super worth checking out. Tons of fun. I had a blast. Hunt the Night is another game where its inspirations are palpable. Clearly, this was inspired by Bloodborne, but this top-down sort of Souls game has a lot of weapons that it gives you, a dash, some puzzles, and a really good usage of its gun mechanic. So you can use your gun for puzzle solving, and you refill your bullets with melee attacks. And the combat's actually pretty fun because they give you different weapons you can try out in the demo. And the enemies are alright, they're not particularly challenging, but you got like a low health pool that you gotta like manage, so they kind of balance each other out. The art's also okay. I think if you haven't played a lot of Dark Souls inspired indie games like I have, or if you're not as tired of them as I am, this is like a totally fine video game. I see nothing wrong with it. I think it's pretty fun. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good time. If you're interested in it, I didn't see any problem with it. Good combat. It's inoffensive. That's a good word for it. It's an inoffensive game. Okay, so I really wanted to play Bread and Fred, but it's co-op only. And I ain't got no friends, so... I mean, I tried playing it with 2 controllers. It didn't work out great, but you know, it looks cute. If you have friends, try it. Let me know how it is. Okay, we have Aztech, the Forgotten Gods, and visually Aztech looks pretty rough. The demo also opens with minutes and minutes of text dialogue, which I wasn't stoked about. And the demo really just only has you fighting this one big boss guy. I actually got a lot of Jack and Daxter vibes from the game, and listen, I'm gonna be honest, the melee combat felt pretty bad. The animations don't really exist, and there isn't any real impact on the hits. The thing is, this jetpack flying around, this part of the game, I found really enjoyable. I thought this was super fun. I think if there's another demo somewhere down the line where it's a little bit more polished up, and if it had more aerial combat, I'd be super down to give it another go. This game feels the most like a work in progress, so I wouldn't recommend the demo, but I definitely think it's worth looking at sometime later on. Ravenous Devils. So by all accounts, I should hate this game. I worked in food service for 3 years and never want to go back or simulate going back, and I hate Sweeney Todd, which this game is directly inspired by. And yet, this hot topic cooking simulator is actually pretty addicting. Getting the store ready, prepping orders, I mean, I really enjoy Overcooked and Overcooked 2, and this game is more single-player Overcooked. You know, you get orders, you fill them out and stuff. I'm surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did. I do think the demo ends too early. They don't really show off all their extra tools. They kind of just tease you with like a menu being like, this is what you can start doing. However, I did find the cooking to be pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than the tailor shop part. And I also don't care about the gimmick of the game. Like the whole kill people and make food out of them is just like a little too scene kid for me. I just don't care. I don't think it adds anything either, but the gameplay I thought was actually very fun. It's just a food shop management simulator, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. The Last Campfire. So this Pixar-looking puzzle game is a little grating with the voice acting, but it's very good with puzzles. These graphics are actually just so good. And that helps out since The Last Campfire uses a lot of environmental puzzle solving. If you like puzzle games, I think this game is worth looking into. A lot of exploration and good visuals, and I only did a few of the puzzles, but they were full of diverse mechanics, and they have some good mind exercises in them. I don't have a lot to say about this one. I'm not like the most intelligent person when it comes to puzzle games, but I think this was a very solid experience and worth checking out if it interests you. Alright, so Coldage. I didn't mean to download this demo, but honestly, I can see some of my friends playing it. It's kind of like a single-player board game. You have a party that's traveling through an apocalyptic future, and you gotta pick and choose what party members to use and what tasks you want them to do. There's a little bit of party management, because if you use one character on a screen, they're on a cooldown for the next screen, and so it involves a little bit of forward thinking and strategy. The demo does just kind of throw you into the thick of it, but if you give it a few minutes to get the hang of it, and if you like card games or like card video games like Slay the Spire and maybe Solo Hearthstone, you should check out Coldage. I think you'd be surprised. It's got a little bit more to it than it looks. Alrighty, Carpathian Night. I love Castlevania, both the Metroid-like ones and the classic ones. Carpathian Night is just a new classic Castlevania game, complete with the Belmont strut and everything. It actually has some solid level designs with like different pathways and stuff, and the enemy and secret placements are all laid out in a few different directions you can take, and honestly, this game just feels like a solid successor to Castlevania, just like Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. Really good 2D action platformer, solid game feel, good level design, and music that kinda slaps. Big recommend. Big recommend. I am very excited for this game. I really can't wait to play it. Okay. ANNO Mutationem ANNO. Full disclosure, I was really tired by the time I got to this demo. And this demo just vomits so much dialogue at you. And the little bit of gameplay I played was okay. It's kind of like a 2D character stylish action game, Bayonetta, DMC, etc. But I was too tired and wasn't really paying attention, and after 30 minutes of the demo, I quit to go to bed, right? And it turns out this demo has no save feature, and I'm not replaying 30 minutes of text again. So, sorry ANNO, it is one of the top downloaded demos of Next Fest, so I think it'll live without me praising it or whatever. Die After Sunset feels a lot like Risk of Rain 2 meets Fortnite, so you run around this island full of different set pieces, fighting enemies, and farming currency you can use to unlock chests, which have upgrades that make you stronger. Risk of Rain 2, right? After a set timer, a boss spawns and you fight it and you move on. There are also these little quests you can complete for extra bonuses. It ran a little choppy for me, but I am using a 5-year-old PC, so, I don't know. I think it's fine. If you like Risk of Rain 2, you should check out the demo and see if you like Die After Sunset. That's like all I can really say. It just feels like a game I played before and is worth looking into if you like those types of games. Fallen Aces, this first-person shooter has a lot of charm. It's so campy, and it loves being so aggressively, comically into its old noir style. The gameplay is also really enjoyable. You get a bunch of different options for combat and playstyle. You can punch and kick enemies, or pick up and throw items and beat people up with pipes, or you can just stealth by and do sneak attacks, right? The comic book art style works pretty well in this over-the-top setting, and I appreciate how much freedom Fallen Aces gives you and how you want to tackle the situations it presents. You can run in guns blazing or stealth around or do a mix, and since the demo doesn't really give you guns, so even if you do go in loud and proud, you still need to get creative in how you're going to beat up the enemy goons. All in all, I actually really liked my time with Falling Aces. It surprised me for sure. If you like Dishonored or like Bioshock or something, not like straight up run and gun, I think Falling Aces would be worth looking into. Alright, Victory Heat Rally was one of my favorite demos I played this week, and it's just a solid racing game. This demo only has one character and one car available, and 2 tracks to do just time trials on, and yet, still super fun, absolute blast. I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart 8 lately, and this game felt a lot like Mario Kart, but just without the items. The juiced up drifting effects are also pretty cool, and these wildly twisty turning course layouts led to this demo being extremely enjoyable. Just racing against past times and staff ghosts is pretty fun on its own, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be like with CPUs and other racers. I like the graphics, and the 2 musical tracks I heard were pretty good. I'm actually super pumped to play more of this game when more of it is available. Victory Heat Rally, it's real good. It's real good. And lastly, my favorite demo I played, Conscript. Y'all know I love Resident Evil, and what you might not know is that I studied a whole bunch of World War I back in college. I took a good number of classes on it, and it's still wrapping around in my head, and so the idea of setting a survival horror game in historical trench warfare is just so smart. It's brilliant. No supernatural monsters, just the horror and terror of enemy soldiers, artillery strikes, no man's land, and chemical warfare, just haunting your every step. And there are some genuinely creepy and intense moments in this demo. I mean, how couldn't there be? This is like a horrifying event that actually happened to real people, so like video games just like, boom, amped it up, I just think this idea is so smart, and the gameplay is really good. The guns have a lot of heft to them, and the sound design is so well implemented. I mean, you got the gunshots and the screams and the backgrounds and the blurred smoke and debris out of the atmosphere combined with like the super aggressive breathing and hard footsteps. It just builds this tension so much, and wow, this demo is so good. I highly recommend checking it out, particularly we're in Scary Month now, and if you like survival horror, I mean, this was my favorite demo of this Steam Next Fest. Alrighty, that's all 20 games, or whatever. And listen, don't take this video as an endorsement of any of these games. It's only of their demos, and even then, not all of them. You know, whatever you saw here that interests you, please feel free to check it out. I'll have like a list of my my top 5 demos here. I also want to give a shout out to the Ravenous Devils development team. They reached out to me and asked me if I would check out their demo, and I did, and I actually surprisingly liked it, because normally I wouldn't look into it. But whatever, you know, I just kind of do it because it's fun. I'm really busy. I got a lot of work to do. Hey, check out Steam Next Fest before it ends on the 7th, and hopefully these demos get to stay up, you know, that would be really cool. And if you like them, make sure, again, to check below in the description. And then, like, follow the devs that you really like on Twitter or Discord or whatever they tell you to follow them on to keep up to date. A lot of really cool indie games that are coming up that always sneak by the radar, and I love these Steam Next Fest because you get to try some of them out and you get to see some of them. I'm, like, super excited for some of these games I've never heard of and will never show up on, like, a Nintendo Direct or whatever Jeff Keighley's hosting. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty busy. I gotta get back to doing what I gotta do. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, and take it easy. I feel like I did that all in one breath.